Okay, so I will go ahead and start. Good luck, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Welcome.
welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll just give everyone just a couple of seconds to log in, and then we'll do a quick land acknowledgement before I hand it over. Well, thank you all for joining our info session on health informatics and health service management. My name is Mashur Chaudhry. I'm the manager of recruitment and sales for the Chang School. And before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the land on which Toronto Metropolitan University is built upon. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. I want to pay my respects to the Indigenous peoples, elders, and ancestors who stewarded and cared for nature and the people who lived on the land where TMU is located today. At the university, we've made a deep and long-lasting commitment to truth and reconciliation. I invite you to learn more about this work online. Now, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's session. Your microphone is muted throughout the event so as not to disturb other attendees or the presenters. For the hearing impaired, we have automated captioning available, which you can access by activating it in the toolbar of your screen. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your questions in the question box of the control panel. And you may send in your questions during the session and we'll answer them towards the end of the presentation. Now I'd like to invite Priya Nipik, who is the director at Chang School and the academic coordinator for the certificate as well. And Priya will go over a quick overview um, and share with us some insights. Go ahead, Priya.
Thank you very much, Mashwar. Yes, hi, I'm the academic coordinator for both the health informatics and health management certificates. Thank you today for joining to hear and learn more about our certificate offerings through the Chang School. If I could just get the next slide. So here's some quick facts that you can that will help you in your decision making around what certificate might be a better fit for you. Uh, So generally speaking, the health informatics certificate is in online delivery mode. So all courses are offered online. There are 7 of them. It takes about a year to complete the certificate. The cost is between $4,100 and $5,300, depending on the electives that you select. There are 4 required courses and 3 electives in that certificate. And the health services management certificate, again, fully online delivery. Courses, there are 7 of them, 4 required and 3 electives. The length to complete the certificate is between 8 months and 1 year. And again, the cost ranges between 4,100 and 4,600. Again, that depends on what electives you select. So, yeah. So here's some industry trends if you're considering the certificates and trying to decide whether they'd be a good fit for you and whether they would ladder you to opportunities in the field. In relation to, deciding to take the health informatics certificate, as many of you might already know, it is a quickly evolving field. It does require a significant amount of expertise across a number of disciplines, including information technology, healthcare management, and statistics, policy, privacy, and security. And so these you will see are reflected in the elective course offerings that are available through the Health Informatics Certificate. There has been also increased uh, emphasis placed on privatization and security within healthcare. So again, these are 2 areas that, because the field is so dominated about management of health records, and health records are so large and considered, making up a substantial portion of big data. It's very, very important to focus on both privatization aspects because a lot of this is, we were just talking about this. I was talking about this earlier today. Things are moving out of the space of the public system into the private system, and management of health records is definitely an area where, there's going to be a lot of policies and legislation around that transition. And security also is always, of primary significance because it's holding of health information, people's health information. And so these two areas, or all of these areas together, are expanding rapidly as the field itself evolves. So uh, in terms of applications of health informatics, there are quite a few. You'll see them on the left side. Artificial intelligence, all of you are very familiar, is an application that's used in many instances for predictive purposes and also to prevent disease. Data analytics is an area that is also consistently evolving, and it's a space where we're using the data again for predictive purposes, but also for modeling and a variety of other uh, specific impacts in relation to how we can improve the functioning of our healthcare system. Cyber security, that one goes without saying. Interoperability, for those of you that might not know, we do have a course that's specifically focused on this, but we have many different systems operating in the healthcare system. And those systems are required to be able to speak to one another. And so interoperability is a space that has grown because we're trying to create applications and systems that are seamless, or applications that will allow for seamless transfer of data. Genomics is another area that has grown quite significantly as well too. There are many health informatics opportunities that are entirely focused on genomics and that space in that field. Virtual reality, similarly speaking, there are many applications that have the overlay between health informatics and are largely focused on virtual reality. This is also a case for health services management in some regards as well too, because we're spending a lot of time creating practical models of various different events so that we can simulate them and then through them learn and improve process essentially. So this is true of both the spaces of health informatics and health services management. So applications specific to health services management, while there might be some crossover between health informatics, policy is a huge area and space and ties very closely to accreditation, which is a requirement for all of our hospitals in Canada. And so that process has and is guided significantly by accreditation policies, and policies also guide the accreditation process essentially. So the two work quite closely. Evaluation and quality improvement, that's a space where you can transition, if you have been in that space, into the healthcare field, learn quite a bit about the applications within that space because almost every single clinic, they function as specific programs themselves, essentially. And so the focus is always on improving quality. And like I said, the two areas of expertise, both health informatics and health services management, work hand in hand in many instances. And so the data that's derived from within the field of health informatics is often used for quality improvement purposes in terms of management operations within hospitals. Human resources is another area and another potential application in which you can apply your certificate knowledge. Financial management and ethics, all of which are again very important areas. And what you'll notice is because these are areas within that fall under the domain of health services management, a lot of the electives will be drawn or feed into one or many of these areas or applications that we just spoke about. So next slide. So what will you learn with us? And so, like I said, because there is so much crossover, and depending on the electives that you pair with your core course offerings in either of the two certificates, you have the potential to learn foundational concepts and applications within the field of whether that be health informatics or health services management. In health informatics, specifically, it's computers and networks. That's largely going to be specific to that uh, arm or avenue. Information systems and design, again, that's largely health informatics. Interoperability, human factor impact. That's really examining the user experience. And oftentimes, this human factor impact becomes the greatest limitation or concern when we're rolling out new implementations so that there's significant amount of adoption by users, and oftentimes that's where we're assessing what the human factor impact really is, because it really can create barriers to full adoption. Information systems in hospitals and community care, as well as virtual care, which many of us became familiar with during the pandemic, as opposed to what you would learn in the health services management certificate. You'd be learning a lot about consumer and public health informatics in some instances, because again, this is the different systems and how those systems are used. Healthcare systems more generally, electronic health records, that's true of both of the certificates. Machine learning and artificial intelligence has applications in both spaces, but largely you'll see emphasis in the health informatics space. Trends in the field that applies to both. Management principles that again can apply to both. And human resources management, largely that's confined or specific to the health services management certificate. Ethics, privacy, and security, again, has crossover and can be paired, or you can, do more in those areas and learn more in those areas if you select electives that are specific to ethics, privacy, and security, while they're covered in the core content across both of the certificates as well. You can definitely grow and expand your learning in that area. So, career path options. So, largely in the space of health informatics, it's decision support analysts, clinical informatics analysts, clinical informatics specialists, quality improvement specialists, health informatics analyst, a health data analyst. A lot of the functions that I described would be performed by a health data analyst, medical informatics analysts, and analytic managers. So essentially, they're just sort of overseeing what data is being generated and for what purposes. And then health services management. That is a lot of the typical management tags that you would see, that people would, leadership roles that people would hold, like executive director, mental health leads. There are several different types of leads because they could be in areas of privacy and security as well too. They could be in spaces of hygiene, but it's not, it's called something else right now. It's not coming to me, but they're leads of various different clinical areas. But the roles are largely management in nature. Operations managers, healthcare managers, patient safety consultant, also patient safety leads, quality improvement managers, and screening managers. These are sort of just a few of the titles that you are searchable, that you can see that they're asking for people with expertise in health services management. So I think this is where I tell you guys that we're sort of wrap up that enrollment is open right now for our spring summer term. And on our websites, you will see the process for enrolling, and we can speak to that in the question and answer period as well too. There is like sort of two steps process that we can describe. And again, like I said, courses start early May for our spring summer semester term. And our core course offerings are going to be available for you to enroll in during that spring summer term. So you can get started right away. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Priya. That was amazing insight and a really good overview of the whole certificate. Well, we really appreciate that. Now, before we get into Q&A, I just want to let everyone know we also have our program director, Jen Gordon, and program specialist, Sarah Weisbord, who are on the call today, who can also help answer some questions from everybody. I also want to invite one of our academic advisors to say a couple of words. But before we do that, we'll do a quick poll for everybody to just get things started. So I'll launch the poll here. If everybody can take a look at this, we just want to know, what do you think matters most, right? What do you think is the most important skill for advancing in the health industry today? And we've got four options there for you: healthcare planning and budgeting, leveraging health information technology, example EHR or eHealth, applying change management in healthcare settings, and then understanding Canadian healthcare systems and funding models. So we'll give it another 30 seconds for everybody. I know we've got a healthy number of attendees today. You all can put in your answers. Looks like leveraging health information technology is leading right now with about 47% of the votes. All right, so we'll stop the poll here and we'll share the results on the screen. And at the same time, if I could invite Dave Dalrymple, who's our academic and career advisor, just to say a couple of words.
Great. Thanks, Mashur. And apologies, everyone. I'm feeling a little under the weather today, so I'm just going to remain off camera. But happy to be here. Thanks so much, Priya. That was very informative as always. Yeah, and I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Dave Dalrymple. I'm an academic and career advisor with the Chang School. I've been here for 13 years or so, and myself and my colleague Abhi Vasikaran are here to assist you with any questions you have about, academic planning or career planning. We can help you with making those decisions. We have a very capable client services team that can answer uh, email or quick phone questions. But if you'd like to set up a time to chat with us, um, for 20 or 30 minutes to discuss things more in depth, we're here to do that. And we can also connect you with some career resources at the Career Co-op and Student Success Center at TMU if required. So please feel free to reach out. We'll put my email in the chat if you'd like to book an appointment.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Yes, and everybody, Dave was being very modest here. What he does is a lot more, and he's just amazing. So I just want to put a special shout out there for Dave, and thank you so much for attending. I know you're feeling under the weather, so thank you so much for coming on and saying a couple of words there, Dave. We do have a few questions that has come in already, and I'll invite everyone else that are attending to start putting in your questions. So first question is, why is health service largely management as compared to health informatics that seems to have more of an academic workload? Can we get a managerial role in the future if you studied in health informatics?
Yeah, I mean, like some of those health analytics positions are managerial roles, for sure. So you're not prohibited by no means. It's just the structure of both health information management departments is such that, there is management, of course. I mean, you can also go get all the way up to the C-suite and be like a chief information officer. And that would be a pathway that would come from having an informatics background and a data background, essentially. So potentially, I mean, it doesn't have to, but I'm saying that you do have leadership. You can ladder up into different leadership roles in both certificate pathways. It just happens to be that we were searching when we were looking at position titles, we were searching at the ones most frequently posted for those particular types of training in either health services management or health informatics. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Priya. That question was from Gloria. Thank you so much for your question, Gloria. Next question is from Nermeen. The question is, can I be certified? Can I be a certified Shima after taking a HSM certificate?
So, depending on the courses that you choose as your elective courses, which would have to stream from the health informatics space, typically a health services management pathway would be one that would lead to CHIMA certification because it's a space for people with professional expertise in health information management. So the health informatics would be probably your best if getting CHIMA certified is your goal or your end goal. The health informatics pathway for sure would be the one that I would suggest that you pursue. And why I say that is because the elective options, the majority of the elective options that are available to you through the health informatics certificate also are CHIMA competency requirements. And so essentially what will happen after you finish your 7 courses, then you will reach out to CHIMA and say, I'm interested in pursuing certification. How much more training do I need to complete in order for me to be able to successfully challenge the exam? And just to note that all of the courses that are offered through our certificate, our health informatics certificate, and even our health services management certificate have been approved, and we are an accredited program, essentially our degree completion program. So these courses are drawn from that same space or that same program. And so essentially you can map with CHIMA now because you're meeting certain of the competencies through the certificate, what you have remaining to complete so you can challenge the exam. So yeah. And
Awesome.
it's a shorter pathway. It's a shorter pathway if you take the health informatics certificate in terms
There
of
you
what you're
go.
standing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer, Priya. Okay, so we have a couple of people asking pretty much something similar, so I'll try to wrap it all up in a question and see if we can get an answer. So it's related to IT background, right? So some people have no IT background, some people have some IT background, and then some people have someone from the US has a master's degree in IT, Tofi. So thanks for that question as well, Tofi. So they want to know, can they join, right? Is there a prerequisite for no IT background, or how much IT is covered in the course, so that someone that doesn't have that much of a background, how would it be for them? And what are the requirements if someone does have a master's degree in IT as well? So just barriers to entry or entry requirements with different sorts of IT backgrounds.
Yeah, so you can come in with very little to no IT background. Obviously, we suggest that you have some information technology management knowledge, but the courses are designed so that if you do not and you enter you apply for the health informatics certificate and are successful, that you should be able to come from a space with zero background. So the idea is that you could be somebody, and a lot of our current enrolled students will come from clinical spaces or administrative spaces, and they want to learn more about the field of health informatics. So that the idea is that in a case where you're coming with some knowledge already, you can be very select in terms of the courses that you want to choose for your elective to help build and expand your knowledge because you have the foundational concepts already. So then you might want to focus in things like privacy and security because the regulations and policies are quite different from country to country. So depending on where you've trained, you definitely there'll be, a steep learning curve because the Canadian system is not one that's very clear. So there are more than one course that you can take in ethics and privacy and law with a law lens or a health administration applications. There are different courses with different emphasis on each. So essentially, I think my short answer to that question is that you do not need to come in with any sort of health informatics, health information management, IT management background, and that you can learn right from ground up, essentially. So, and if you come in with it, you can definitely expand your skill set depending on the electives you choose. And that's what we're here for too, as well, too, to guide you once you are successfully received into the program, what electives would best suit you as well. So,
Great. Is there anything, Jen or Sarah, you'd want to add to that?
Well, just more just an encouragement if you're, considering the program and uh, want some advice on what a good selection of electives could be for this program to meet your specific goals, definitely encourage you to reach out to Dave and the team of Chang Advisors to help guide you through that process even prior to signing up for the certificate program.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for that. And then next question, which has also come up a couple of times, if there are any co-op opportunities or job placement opportunities through this, and if not, right, how does it prepare someone for the job market and for employment? That's come up a couple of times. So.
I don't feel like I'm an expert on the whole employment placement. I know that our certificate does not have a co-op currently. There are many different simulations, and there are opportunities for learning in terms of simulation of what actually happens in a healthcare setting. But in terms of us giving a specific co-op opportunities, they're not available in our certificates. So that is currently not an available pathway. However, if you are coming and your training is outside of the healthcare context of Canada or even that much of Ontario, there is quite a bit of learning that is required for you to be job ready here in our province. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the fact that every single one of us, our delivery of healthcare is quite unique from province to province across the country. And so a lot of the courses, while they'll cover the provincial context, they'll also cover the international context or national context. And somewhat, depending on the course, will compare how we operate relative to other countries in the world and other provinces in the country. So. Yeah, so it's helpful in that regard in terms of giving you that context-specific knowledge.
Great. Next question is if someone wants to do, and not sure, right, if they want to do informatics or service management, can they switch in between, if they start with a couple of courses, and can they switch from health informatics to health services management? And when they switch, will they have to start all over, or is there some learnings that can be transferred over there, for something like that?
Yeah, so I think the clearest way to depict exactly the capacity to switch from one certificate to another would be to actually look at the core course offerings in the two certificates. While the core course offerings are very unique, the elective options, there's quite a significant amount of overlap. So if you start in one stream and decide that you feel the other stream is much better fit for you, then you can often, if not always, use the courses that you've taken as elective options towards the other certificate program, and then you'd be doing the core course offerings for that certificate program. And vice versa, the core course offerings in the health services management certificate can be applied as electives in the health informatics certificate. So you do have the ability to switch from one to the other. You won't lose anything in those transitions. But when you apply, you're going to apply in specifically to one certificate and you're going to share your CV and then your and relevant transcripts. And your decision for entry is going to be based on entry to that certificate. So if you do decide to switch from one certificate to another, you will obviously have to meet the eligibility criteria for the other respective certificate. So.
I'm just going to put in, I know there's a lot of questions coming in regarding length of the course and when we're starting the course enrollments and some information that is really available on our website. And just in the interest of time so that we can attend to all of the questions that are there, I'm just putting in the certificate page here for everybody, both HSM and health informatics. So there's some real valuable information, but as you go through that, we can take some more questions that are coming in. And thank you everybody for putting in your questions. These are really good. Keep them coming. And so next question is someone who's graduating in their Bachelor's of Science to become an RN in April 2026, has a passion for health informatics, will they get credits transferred with no IT background into the certificate if they want?
So course transfer credits are a difficult one for me to speak to, but they would have to, the courses that they took at their host institution would obviously have to meet our transfer credit department's requirements. So, they'd have to be from X type of learning institution. They have certain specific criteria, which you can actually go and find out by going to I don't know if we can share the credit transfer department's website.
Sure.
Yeah, because they're the best. They're the most knowledgeable and would give you the most accurate information. But what I can say to you is that those courses that you're trying to transfer into our program need to have more than 50% similar knowledge to that which is covered in one of the certificate courses that you designate for transfer. And it would be course to course transfer rather than you just trying to pick up two courses and that cut down on two courses that you need to take in the certificate. They have to actually align with specific courses in the core course offerings or in electives that you would select. So again, there has to be a significant degree of content overlap. So just keep that in mind.
Great, thank you. Thanks for that answer. Next question is someone who's wanting to minor into health services management. Is currently an undergrad at TMU and is looking to minor into a health services management. Could they complete the certification and then go back to their undergrad and complete what they were doing in their undergrad?
So I believe that if you're an undergrad, that you can take a major or minor, but you can't concurrently enroll in a certificate. Am I correct, John? I really am not certain, but I was told that that was the case a few years ago. I'm not sure if that has changed.
I can weigh in here.
Yeah, Dave, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, Jen. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
It really just depends on the certificate and the degree. There's certain degrees that have certain restrictions. In the case of health services management, I would imagine the only conflict there would be the health services management degree. But students who are in a currently registered in an undergraduate degree would be free to take either of these certificates, provided they meet your requirements for entry to the certificate. But yeah, there's no restriction there for undergraduate students.
Okay, perfect. That's new learning for me. So I appreciate that so much, Dave.
No problem.
Thanks. So you're welcome to enroll. And that's great. And I think the second part of that question was something to do with courses. I remember, wasn't there something about can they bring
If
in
they
courses?
could, yeah, if they completed the health informatics or health services management certificate, can they transfer that back to their undergrad and complete their undergrad?
I can take this as well
Okay,
if
thank
that
you,
helps.
Dave. Because
Again, it'll depend on, this is something where you'll want to talk to your program advisor in the undergraduate side. But if you have say like open electives within your degree, it's very likely that you could use any of these courses towards those requirements because they're all degree credit courses.
many of them are already on the open elective table.
Exactly. So yeah, specifically open electives, it might get a little more challenging if you're trying to use them as substitutions for core electives or obviously core courses. But certainly if there are open electives, there shouldn't be any issue there. But just to follow up with your program advisor for further guidance.
Great answer there, Dave. Thank you so much. This next question is regarding someone who's already in healthcare as a nurse and wanting to know if these certificates can help elevate their career from what they're currently doing.
Yeah, so if nursing informatics is a space that you are, desiring to enter, this will definitely help you make that transition. In fact, we do see and have quite a few nurses in our program, and you're very successful because sometimes some of these roles are specific to having clinical designations. So in your case, you would be eligible for those particular roles as an RN. And then without the informatics background, you could not apply, but with the informatics background, you'll be eligible to apply for nurse informatics roles. nursing informatics roles and even nurse manager roles, because again, a lot of the decisions that are made based on data. And so the interpretation of that data, understanding where that data is coming from, accuracy issues with that data, limitations with that data, all of that comes from the learning within the health informatics certificate. And so then you too would be eligible just even to elevate to a management role in nursing through the health informatics certificate. I apologize. My voice is in and out.
No worries. Yeah, you've been giving us some great answers, so thank you for continuing to do that. Next question is, do I need to have healthcare experiences to apply for the health informatics certificate?
So, I mean, definitely, I think having healthcare background or knowledge is useful. Again, it's the same thing that I said about having information technology management experience. It's great if you have it. It will really help you to understand the transitions into the space of healthcare, but it's not necessary. So, but I would say that if you're coming in with no healthcare background, that you're going to want to consider electives that will help build your knowledge of the system, because you're going to learn a significant amount in one of the core courses that's required. But then after that, if you're still feeling like, you're not very knowledgeable because it is a foundations course and it spans the entire, every concept and aspect of the system, that you want to get more specific into an area of healthcare that you don't really feel like you're comfortable in terms of your knowledge, you can choose and select an elective that will help build that knowledge because you're coming in again with maybe not so much of it. So yeah, it definitely isn't a limitation to your ability to be successful.
Next question, we have them rolling in. So I love the fact that our learners have a lot of good questions here, and we're able to answer them. Without a clinical designation, will the management certificate help progress my career in health management?
But without a clinical designation. So your background is outside of a sort of a clinical role, is what I'm assuming. Oh yes, I see the question here. Okay.
Yeah.
Help progress me in a career in health management. So it depends if you're in health information management space, if you're in an administrative role and laddering up. Typically, it's not the best pathway to entry into a healthcare system unless you're able to get into records management or into an administrative role right out the gate, essentially. But though you'd be starting at the lowest end in the healthcare sector for sure. Whereas people that have clinical training will come in and be able to like jump in at different stages. But it's not that it's impossible, it's just somewhat more difficult to take that certificate and benefit and leverage that knowledge towards employment in the healthcare sector. So it was a lot more wide open during the pandemic period because we had so many administrative responsibilities and roles that needed to be filled quickly. And so that space has tightened up a little bit more now. So I used to be very like, oh yes, definitely. But it just, you be prepared for these administrative roles that are like office administration, or they'll be specific like clerks, or the terms are sort of like lower entry level positions, but you're not prohibited by no means. So
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Next would be the question. We have a question from Edgar. Thank you for your question, Edgar. Would you please rate the job market within the health informatics space? I know that's a broad question, but anything you can add.
so it's a growing space and growing field, for sure. And I think that's what you mean by rate. Is there job opportunities and growth? Definitely with that space, there's job opportunities and growth. More and more people are entering that space. And I think where I see the largest amount of growth is in the private sector of healthcare. And so that's where, from the end of having expertise in health informatics, has been overwhelmingly significant for quality improvement. And so in the private space, that is the most important thing. It's, you know, figuring out how to build a data infrastructure that will allow us to understand how we're operating and then to use that data towards process improvement. So in that space, there's ton and ton of opportunity. So, and ever more and increasing. And in this changing climate, it is a space that will continue to grow. Regardless, it's rather insulated from all of what's going on because if there's one thing you can guarantee on, people are going to need health services. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's the truth of it.
So I know you've sort of covered this a little bit before, but it is coming back a couple of times. So we've got Noni, and then Zumaya and a couple of other anonymous attendees with different backgrounds, right? They're just letting us know what their different backgrounds are, and then with their background, can this certificate benefit them in their sector? So the first one is nursing. The
Yeah.
second one, they're a healthcare director assistant.
Okay.
The third one, they're a biomed engineering background and working in the manufacturing industry. And then the last one is another healthcare administrator, medical office administrator. So, yeah.
And so I think it depends on what certificate. So in the space of people who are actively in the administrative, in administrative roles in healthcare, definitely the health informatics certificate will help leverage them to higher levels beyond just general office administration because they've already sort of got that entry level. Whereas I think the first person that you spoke about was a nurse. And
Yes.
again, I think for nurses, this is an amazing pathway because it just opens doors to leadership and management roles that otherwise they would not be able to qualify for because like their degree training is clinical. And in order for them to enter those leadership spaces, they need to have some of that leadership and management, and in this case, informatics for decision-making purposes to move into those spaces of management. So this will give them the opportunity to learn a new skill and competency for sure, and then also move into those management spaces. I think there was one other person that came with
Biomed engineering and
biomed
manufacturing.
engineering from a background that's outside. And so in that case, you're coming with discipline specific knowledge and you're just learning the application and context between your original training, you should definitely be able to enter the space of healthcare because you have that foundational training that is kind of what they're wanting, but you're just now going to be applying that within the space and field, or let's put it this way, the data that you'll be using is healthcare data. And so you'll understand how and what is done with healthcare data. So you would have success as well too. So I often say I think just to narrow it down, if you have clinical expertise, then if your clinical expertise aligns with something in a hospital or even private healthcare setting, then you'll be able to leverage it into management roles. If you're coming in with some type of foundational knowledge outside of the setting of healthcare, learning about the context of healthcare will help you to transition those skill sets into that domain. It'll make people feel comfortable, employers, that you understand how they operate and that it is quite unique. And so without it, you wouldn't be able to do that because it is such a unique space. And they are very much interested in people demonstrating that they have appropriate certifications and qualifications to be working in that space. So they're one of the, I'd say one of the heavy on certifications spaces that I've seen for employment, for sure. Canada on the whole tends to be very much like that, but healthcare is just another layer, added layer of responsibility that they want to see that you have designations and certifications. So, yeah.
Okay, so I know we've got just 2 minutes to go. We can take a couple of more questions, but I do want to let everybody know after the end of this call, we'll be putting up our contact information. So if there is anything that's not answered, you can reach out to us. So the next question is from Shalanda Stewart. Thank you for your question. It is, are you affiliated with any provincial or federal health informatics health management associations? And there's a second part to the question is what percentage of past graduates are employed in the field? I know that's a very broad question that we might not have the exact data for, but if there's anything that we can share on those couple of things.
Yes, I think you're asking first, because I don't see that question for some reason, but it's certifications and how many people are certified or what certifications we do have. I
So
think
the
it's
first one is, are we affiliated with any provincial, federal health informatics or health management associations?
That's right. So Digital Health Canada would be the place that we are affiliated with, and we sort of provide the academic training arm to certificate the certification pathway. There are other work experience qualification requirements. So I would definitely check with Digital Health to ensure that once you meet the academic arm, that you will be qualified to sit to challenge the certification exam, because there are stipulations around people with different employment backgrounds, how long and how many years of work experience and what would be considered relevant work experience. So I would make sure that before you commit to the certificate, that you get clarification around that as well. But that is a certification that you could seek because you would have the academic qualifications by completing our certificate. And then the other one is CHIMA, and we talked about that earlier. And so there's a gym certification that people and that is well recognized in the space as certified health information management. And in order for you to challenge that particular exam, again, you'd need to check with CHIMA upon completion. You can select and designate, show them the courses that you have, but typically an advisor will sit with you with your transcript. So once you've taken your courses, they sit with you and then they tell you, okay, you need to take these additional courses. Oftentimes, CHIMA set it up with us with our degree completion programs so that there's no more fees attached. It's just that you have to go through a series of free workshops. And so oftentimes it's like free workshops that you have to prepare and ready yourself for physiology and anatomy, which are basic foundational concepts outside of both certificates that you would not have as foundational knowledge unless you were clinically trained. And then you take these prep courses, which are free and they're asynchronous, and you do them on your own time. There are other competencies that they might see that you have gaps with respect to being able to successfully challenge the exam. They will also tell you what learning tools are available to you, and then you will be able to challenge the exam upon completion. But those are the two recognized certifications, and there are definitely pathways to both of those.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Priya. I know we are 2 minutes over time, so we'll just take our final
Yep.
question is how applicable is the certificate outside of the province internationally, maybe in the US or any other country or any other province. That's our last question that we'll take, and I'll put one last poll up while you answer that question for all of our attendees today.
So outside the province, quite applicable. So across Canada, I definitely would say we basically are at, in terms of reporting up to the national level, we're all reporting the same things. And the certifications that I just spoke about, they're both national level certifications, the one through Digital Health Canada, and then the other, which is through our Canadian College of Health Leaders, or essentially our Canadian Health Information Management Association is the designation. They're the ones that you sit your exam for. Outside of those spaces, that is tricky for me to be able to answer, because while the practical application that you will learn it will be applicable no matter where in the world you go, the data itself, how the data is stored, secured, um, what types of data are collected will vary depending on the country that you're trying to transfer these skills to. So I would be very confident saying, okay, if it's another G7 country, you're fine, because we all capture the same data using the same classification system. And so I think it has a lot more portability. But if you're going outside of those areas, it really depends on their system, right? And so without knowing what specific country you're going to, it's so difficult for me to say how internationally transferable our certificate is. So I'd say that the skills are transferable, but in terms of understanding the foundational aspects of that specific system, those would be uniquely required to be learned, just like they would if you were an international student taking our certificate and wanting to live here. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you again so much for that, for answering all of our questions today, Priya.
Yeah.
I just want to let everyone know that this was a great session. We had lots of great questions, and we want to keep continuing to answer these questions for everybody. If you have any other questions and you want to reach out to us or want to enroll to the certificate, please visit our website at continuing.torontomu.ca or contact me directly at mash.chaudhry@torontomu.ca. I'd like to take this moment to thank our guest speakers and presenters that are all on the call, and also everyone else that attended for taking the time out of your day to attend our session. You will receive the slides, a recording of the session, and a survey within 24 to 48 hours. And on behalf of all of us, thank you so much, and hope you have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye.